Well, the EU's leadership will be meeting on Monday to discuss Brexit and the aftermath of that referendum. Let's get you more now on that story, and I'm joined from Berlin by CCTV's Guy Henderson. Guy, it's been a bumpy past week for Europe and Britain. What can we expect, though, out of tomorrow's meeting?
Well, I think the first priority, Beatrice, will be trying to hammer out a common position on a timeline for this British exit from the European Union. We had the foreign ministers in Berlin on Saturday from the 6 founding members of the European Union, and they came out of that meeting with a pretty tough message for Britain, which was essentially that they wanted negotiations to begin as soon as possible to try and shorten this period of uncertainty, which they say could be damaging for the EU and for the British economy as well. But a slightly different tone coming from Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, when she spoke. She said that, in her view, there was no need to be nasty to Britain because, of course, there's a lot of talk about whether the EU would have to be tough in order to prevent other countries being tempted to go through the same process. But as one commentator in a British weekend newspaper here commented, is it possible, perhaps, that the reason the Chancellor, at the moment at least, is seeming to be slightly more kind to Britain, could that be because the financial impact at the moment seems to be so severe that perhaps there is no need, that message is very clearly getting across at the moment to other parts of Europe?
Well, Guy, the financial impact seems to be so severe, and there have been other calls for referendums on exiting the European Union. Just how worried, though, is Germany on the European Union's future?
Well, I think it is part of the mainstream discussion now that the very survival of the European Union as a project, or at least in its current form, is at stake, and that the timeline to sort that out is quite short. There's obviously a lot of soul searching going on in Britain, across the rest of the European Union as well, about what lessons can be drawn from this British vote. And one of them seems to be that perhaps voters are far more disillusioned with the bureaucracy in Brussels than perhaps many of them had imagined. And there are a number of key elections coming up, both in Germany and Holland, within the next year or so, in France as well. And there is now a big discussion around how the status quo, how the mainstream governments of Europe can try and bring back those disillusioned voters as soon as possible. A 10-point plan was apparently presented by Germany's Social Democrats to try and persuade the Chancellor to propose to the EU bringing back some powers to the European Parliament, to national parliaments, to try and fend off some of that rising nationalism across Europe. But there are, again, splits in different countries in Europe, even within Germany and other countries in Europe, about whether there should be more integration, less integration, or whether Europe should just take a pause.
Right, Guy Henderson for us there, following the developments from Berlin. Thank you.